Hey there, everyone in the world. This is Brett, your favorite YouTuber, and I am getting happier daily with just simple things. And today I was thinking about learning about bugs. And, there are people out there that study bugs, and some people wonder, how can they just be satisfied with studying bugs? What makes a mind want to study bugs? And I think that if you are a simple thinker, then you might just be happy with studying bugs and nature. If you're a natural person, then you might be magnetized towards bugs and bees and birds, etc. And so it makes sense that if I just keep eating natural foods and living more naturally, that's what I'll want to do with my time. And so it seems kind of weird that I might be interested in things like this. But after Chakra died, I did start to get watching birds. And I love birds now. I almost even love the mockingbirds, but not really. But the doves grew on me. They do make a really nice cooing sound in addition to the obnoxious fluttering sound. I really love my finches. And finches aren't really the most desirable animal bird-wise. They're not really beautiful. But I think they're really cute, and I think they're really person-friendly. That's why they're called house finches, because they hang out around houses. And so I'm kind of like Dr. Dolittle now, the guy that talks to animals. And so now I'm starting to wonder if I could just be happy being single forever. So I went out on the town tonight, and I walked up to people and I told them that I was telling people profound and or true things. Would you like to hear one thing? And most people did want to hear something true or profound. And so I told them something. And some people agreed or liked it, and some people didn't. But no matter what, I told them something that was really true and really profound. Generally both. And additionally, I told people that the reason that I was walking around town and telling people true and profound things is because I don't drink alcohol and I don't do other things that most people typically do. And so I have to figure out something to do with my time. I get bored. Imagine people like my father that was happy. He could have been just totally happy with sitting and drinking at a bar and talking about shit. Now, some of you might be thinking, yeah, but look at you, man. You're sitting and talking to a camera and talking about things, not shit, things. This is a step up for sure. Just sitting and talking to a camera about things that have value, not stupid shit. So, anyways, a couple of the things that I mentioned to people were that I voted for Jill Stein, Green Party, in the election. And that a lot of people mocked me, saying that my vote was a wasted ordeal. And I don't think that, and I never will. I am really glad that I voted for her, and I voted for some libertarians and other independents, but I didn't vote for any Democrats or any Republicans. You never know, I might do that again. But another thing that I did is that I stuck my head into a real estate office, and there was one young man sitting there. And I thought that it was somebody that I'd mentioned this to before, but I told him that the real estate industry is a very crooked industry, and that that's what Donald Trump has always done, that and casinos. Now, it's good to associate things. You can often learn things about people. You can make assumptions and conclusions about people based upon what they do for a living, where they hang out, and who they hang out with. You can also make assumptions about people based upon the kind of money that's involved with the things that they do. Okay? And a lot of people out there, they really want to do something lucrative. That's the whole basis upon why they've gone to school extra. Like, they didn't really want to go to college, but they really wanted to be able to do something that would support them financially. And so they got some job. Some boring, some nauseous, some toxic job at a hospital or a desk or something of that nature that makes $100,000 or $1 million a year or something. And there they sit, all broken hearted, tried to, but only farted. But I just saw this guy when I went down to the concert a little while ago. I went down and I watched some kids, like in their teens, play bluegrass, and they were really good. And so there's this guy that's mixing the music for them live. It's the first concert of the year at my local little outdoor concert thing at the beer and pizza place, right? And there's a guy I know that was mixing the music. And this guy, he doesn't make very much money. And I think that he probably lives in his car a lot of the time. But he seems healthy, sort of, mentally at least, and happy. And he doesn't have 2 cents to rub together, I guarantee you. But now compare that to somebody that's just miserable. They're just miserable, doing some job, like I mentioned before, that's lucrative. I mean, if you're doing a job that makes a lot of money, but you just love the hell out of doing that job, and it's something that's relatively lucrative, makes money, and is a beneficial thing for society, then I commend you. I commend you. And there are plenty of people out there that do things like that. But it's really good to do something that makes enough money, and you feel good about doing it. After a day of work, you're like, yeah, I feel good. And I think that you can tell if you're doing something extraordinary by the number of people that really appreciate you. And I'll explain. At least in my case, I know that I'm doing something awesome. But you'll notice that not very many people are watching right now. But that's okay, because not very many people can deal with everything that I have to say. And the farther it is that you are away, the less able to deal with it, the things that come out of here, that you are. And I know this from talking to people because I go out and I do that. And I can tell that the healthier that they are, and the more they're moving towards the center, that the more longer they want to talk to me. And I'll give you an example of someone that they checked out real fast tonight, this evening. I'm walking around the town square and I walked into this bar restaurant thing. And I walked up and there was a bartender girl. And perhaps she was just busy, but I don't think so. I asked her if she'd like to hear something true and profound. And she said yes. And so I told her that I hadn't eaten any processed food for 35 years. Just seeing if any of you are going to check out. And she was like, within seconds, giving me that look. Like, yeah, great, man. Yeah, great. Like, I said, I haven't eaten any wheat and dairy since, like, you remember the 2001 bombings of the buildings and all that, 9/11. I haven't eaten any wheat and dairy since then, so like 25 years on that one. And then she was really wanting to check out. And so, see, I know the deal. And then shortly thereafter, sometimes people get a kick out of hearing things. Okay, so there was one couple at a table just outside. This is like an inside-outside bar and restaurant. And I stopped and I asked them if they'd like to hear something profound. And I told them that I didn't vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. I voted for Jill Stein. And the guy looked really annoyed, but the woman just got a kick out of that. So I get the feeling that she also felt the same, And I told people that there's no way that I would ever vote for Donald Trump. And you'll notice that a year ago or a year and a half ago, if you'd have told something like that to someone, you might not have even dared tell anyone because they would have backlashed at you. But now you can tell people, even if they're really staunch Donald Trump supporters, you can tell them that you'd never vote for Donald Trump. I mean, you may want to vote for that, but I'd never vote for him. And most of those Trump supporters, even though they still say that they support him. And this one woman today, she still said that she thinks that he's honest. I said to this woman, so do you really think that Donald Trump is honest? And she looked at me and said, yeah, I think he's honest. And I laughed and left. so, so for me, it's such proof positive how people will look the other way. Like, people will lie to themselves, or they'll just deceive themselves. At this point, this other woman said to me, I told her what I just told you. And this other woman said to me, well, she'll wake up someday. And I thought about that for a couple of seconds, and I went back to her and I said, if she hasn't figured it out by now, it ain't gonna happen, girl. It ain't gonna ever happen. And so it's very similar to natural diet. There are people out there that they will defend their cheese right up until the end, until, like, the doctor will tell them that their arteries and veins are 90% clogged and that they've got cancer, and those people will go home, and even though the doctor just told them to stop eating this or that, or to stop smoking this or that, those people will go right back to it. Okay? So, what's the moral of the story? You'll notice that I'm not stressed or strained over this information. Am I? That is because I know how deep people can get in the poo. They can get so deep that they basically not only are just vitally, what's the word? They're inherently, not inherently, there's a word for it. They're distressfully, there's a good one, distressfully sick of body, and they're also distressfully sick of mind. And there's no turning back, and so they might as well just kill themselves off. And as soon as the ambulance arrives, they can haul them away to the morgue. But the good news, my friends, if you're a fan of me, is that I'm quite sane of mind. I'm not totally sane, and I'm not totally healthy of body or mind, but I keep improving it cycle after cycle, cleansing cycle after cycle. And I'm not having migraines, healing crises near as often. I had one about 5 or 6 days ago. It wasn't on the full moon, it was after. And I was still able to sleep. I wasn't in too much pain. I only had to throw up a little bit. And I got through it, and it wasn't too bad. And here's the good part. I hadn't had one before that for like 6 or 8 weeks. Yeah. And I believe that they generally are getting less frequent. And so, yeah, I think I'm getting healthier. And I'm getting generally more tolerant of people, more accepting, and where I live is extremely challenging for someone that's progressive like me. So I live in a place where there's a lot of art, but not really health-minded people. And so I'm pretty much by myself largely, especially to the degree of health that I'm at. So I just kind of have come to accept that. And I get my little dose of natural health or new agey things by going into Asheville, and I might go tomorrow. But when you're kind of in a space where you feel like you're stuck, you know what I mean? You feel like you're stuck. You have to just find what you've got. You just have to accept what you've got and be happy. And so I've really been enjoying these simple things that I mentioned before. And just natural things. And it's amazing that all these things were always there before. And sure, I enjoyed the beach, and I enjoyed the mountains, and I enjoyed mountain biking and all kinds of things. But there are all these simpler things that I really didn't recognize them much before. I was hiking in the mountains in Utah, or I was hiking in the desert in Arizona, but I was hiking along really fast. All I had to do was stop and sit and look around and listen. Then, possibly, I may have noticed some of those things, but I wasn't in a frame of mind that was ready to. So it was worthless. So now, if we think about that, this is why it's so valuable to get older, because you can look back to the way you were before, years ago. And you can realize that talking to someone and telling someone these kinds of things is generally, it can get into them. Here's where you have to recognize if they're listening, if they're able to listen, or if they're just not there yet. You'll notice that I look over to see like how many people are still watching. It's interesting for me to note how people come and go. Just like it's interesting for me to note if people are paying attention to me when I'm telling them something that I've learned. If a person isn't ready for something, well, then they're just not ready. We are all evolving, in my opinion, towards the same place. Ultimately. Now, after my life here, I may go to a different place than you. It's likely that some people may be reborn into this world. Maybe some people will go to a paradisal place called heaven. Maybe there's truth to all of that. You know, these are things that different religions believe. But when it comes down to it, after all is said and done, it seems to me that we're all coming to this point. Because, see, the reason that I say that is because the truths are the truths. And eventually, everyone will eventually come to the same truths. And if everyone eventually comes to the same truths, then they will all be the same. If everyone is all the same mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and then all the subcategories below that, the more everyone comes to being the same, the more everyone ends up in the same place, ultimately, in the universe. And that same place, maybe it's heaven, utopia, it doesn't matter what verbal name you want to call it. Hopefully, you'd like to think that it's this wonderful God-given place. Because if everyone is thinking the same things, then everyone has the same acceptance of everyone. And if you accept everyone as being the same as yourself, then you could never hurt them. You could never say anything bad, do anything bad, nothing bad towards them. And so if you're not doing anything bad, then you're only doing good or neutral things towards everyone. And that would be a utopia. But in order to do that, we have to evolve. And that's a word that a lot of these religions don't like. It doesn't necessarily mean just because you believe in evolution, it doesn't mean that you don't believe in God. Even BYU has a science center. I'm from Utah, and I'm from this town called Payson that's 25 miles from Brigham Young University in Orem, Utah, Provo, Utah. And so there's even religious universities have science departments, and you can't deny that. You can't deny science and evolution anymore. But science is very limited. And it's funny that for me, that people think there was this guy on the news last night, and bear in mind, I watched about a couple of little clips, and they were talking about how they had released all of these things on UFOs, And this one guy, Tom something from NBC, said something to the degree of that we're not even close to being able, look at us with our science, and we're not even close to being able to go to other universes. As though us humans were really evolved. So for me, I think that, we just barely left our atmosphere in the late 60s. Just after I was born, they started sending people to the moon. And so, like, how far are humans really evolved? Not. Okay. They just invented automobiles 100 years ago. But some people really think that we are evolved because we've learned some things in science over the last 400-500 years. We've learned some things about chemicals and cells, etc., etc. And so they think that humans are really evolved. And so how could other beings possibly go from millions of light years away to the earth, right? How could that possibly be? So I'm guided by something that's so advanced compared to us. We have I have no idea how advanced or what it is, who it is. If it's one of my ancestors that's guiding me, if it's multiple things, because it guides the animals to guide me, it guides people to guide me. I mean, I get clues from all different sources through something that's very advanced. And I'm just so blessed that all of that, even though there are certain things that I wished I still had, that I wish that I could achieve or something like that. That one thing that they call faith, I have it to this degree that's so cool because I experience it. When I was a kid, my parents would tell me things about, like, especially my mom, and people at the church, the Mormon church, would tell me things about, like, this is the true church, and Jesus this and Jesus that, and we would sing songs, and I really enjoyed the songs, as I've told you before, but that's just because I love music mostly. All of that stuff about them, like, telling me, like, you should go on a mission. As I got older, I was like, I really don't buy into all of this stuff from the Mormon church, from this church or any church. I really don't buy into it totally. There's like all of this stuff that my dad would mention, that doesn't really make too much sense to me. And as I got older, then I really didn't buy into it, because I started getting into natural healing. And I'm like, well, why are you building all of these gazillion-dollar temples all over the world? The Mormon church is the richest church by far and away, especially per capita, of any church in the world. If you don't believe that, look it up. And it's because they really demand 10% tithing from all of their parishioners. And I think that you actually have to present your bishop with your paycheck to show that you're paying 10% of your gross, not your net, before taxes. You have to pay 10%. If you make $1,000, hey, I am. If you make $1,000 before taxes, you got to pay the Mormon church $100. That's a lot of money. And they have billions. I believe that one 60 Minutes, there was a 60 Minutes program on them, and how they were, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was talking about how much money the Mormon church has, and it's kind of a bad portrait of them. And so, anyways, where was I going with that? I was saying that science is in every church, even nowadays. And so we're all evolving, whether you want to believe that or not. And I believe that this existence, this physical existence, contributes to your spiritual existence. If it didn't, what would be the purpose of it? There wouldn't be any purpose. If you were just, after you die, if you were just exactly the same, your spirit was just exactly the same as before you came here, what good would that be? It wouldn't make any sense. And so in some way, your spirit has to get better from having lived in a body. And so while you're here, it's in my opinion that you do your best to do that, to become a better spirit through your body and your life. And that's not always easy. And whenever it's a challenging time, in some regard, that's when it's the hardest part to maintain your spiritual integrity. And sometimes when I'm really strained, I have a difficult time with that. I can usually maintain it pretty good around people, but when I'm by myself, it's kind of hard to have patience with myself. I have a Virgo moon that's conjunct with Pluto and Uranus in the 1965-66 conjunction. My moon was in between those two planets they were very tight, 2.5 degrees apart from each other. Anyone that knows anything about astrology, if they were to look at that, they'd be like, well, that is very extreme. It's called a stellium, when there are three things that are tight together. And if it's outer planets and your moon is in between the two of them, that is very extreme, my friends. And so mine were in the sign of Virgo, in the second house. Virgo is a perfectionist, and it gets everything in perfect order. And it's very analytical. I believe it's an earth sign. And I have it in the second house, which is your money, your possessions, etc. And related to Venus. Venus and what else? And so Venus and Virgo, I believe. Anyways, so I do my best, and with my placements, it's a very up and down kind of a life, a very high and low kind of existence. And so for me, it's really important to level everything out and to try and maintain equilibrium and not overreact to things like I used to. And you have to put things into perspective and not over. When you put things into perspective and you ask yourself the question, is it even worth it to say anything? Is it even really worth it to do anything? Do you really have to? Do you really have to react to this particular thing when it doesn't really matter? Are you just trying to push someone's buttons? Are you bored? So for me, oftentimes that's the case. Like, I needed some entertainment today. I needed to go out and see what people think. Maybe I needed to go out and just confirm to myself that there are people out there that no matter what you say, like if I look at a person, like looked at that woman, I looked at her dead in the face, right? And I said like this, Do you really think that Donald Trump is honest? And I didn't laugh. I didn't laugh afterwards. But I looked at her and I said, "Do you really think that Donald Trump is honest?" I can't remember how much she looked back at me, but she said, "Yeah, I think he is." After all of this time, it's a confirmation that people can just lie out their asses to themselves and to other people, whatever it takes for them to survive. Because if they can't actually come out and admit that they were wrong, it means that they're not very healthy of mind. Because everyone makes mistakes, and the least people can do is come out and just say, even though I like this guy's policies to a degree, he's really not a good person ethically. The guy is a freaking criminal, okay? So some people, they could at least come out to the degree and say, I don't think he's really a Christ conscious being. Or, I think he's just mostly interested in money. Doesn't really have a very much scruples, many ethics within him. But in any case, I want to thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you're having a nice Saturday. And do something good for yourself. Do some stretching. Do some chanting. Some praying. Pray for the world. Do something that benefits yourself or others mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. You could just sit and be quiet, and I'll bet you that you'll feel better afterwards. Think about the center. Think about oneness. Think about peace. Think about love. Know that peace and love don't always come about from what you might think that they come about from. We don't know everything. We're just humans. We're not very evolved. If you compare humans to animals and plants, yeah, you could say that we're pretty evolved compared to them. But I dare say that beyond humans, that those for which are evolved beyond us, they don't reveal themselves to us because they know that it might be too much for most people to handle. The more you get to this kind of a mindset like what I have, the more I believe that they are going to be willing and able to reveal themselves to you. They know exactly where I'm at. They, whatever it is, it knows what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm doing. And the more accepting you are of beings that are far more advanced than us, that are guiding us in the direction that it knows, whether maybe it's Jesus, I don't know, whatever it is, the more it knows that you know, and it does know exactly what you know, is accepting of it, the more it will reveal itself to you. And the more you pay attention to things in this life that most people call coincidences, and you start to ask yourself, hey, does that mean something? Is the universe, whoever you believe in, trying to tell me something? The more you'll probably realize that it is, and that your intuition is something very special for you to start to understand and believe in. So, once again, I want to thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you are well.